Hello pilots, today we're back in the skies, this time flying the Su-34, the infamous Hell Duck. Even though it's nothing special in realistic air battles, a lot of people try to grind it here just to use it as CAS in ground battles. While it's an underdog in air-to-air combat, it can still be a usable plane under the right conditions. And if you're wondering whether you can outplay Doritos and other more maneuverable planes all the time, the answer is definitely not. You'll almost never win a one-on-one against those ultra-mega OP jets. And here's how it works. Basically, for that to happen, your enemies need to stack up a bunch of mistakes. And there's gotta be a bit of underestimation too. That overconfidence makes them comfortable enough to slip up, giving you the window to attack. After clearing up a few things, let's get into the game because that's what really matters. In the first match, my goal was to stay behind my team's front line, so I just flew straight into the battlefield and climbed a bit to see if I could grab some attention or make the enemies waste a few missiles. Since I'm playing as a sort of support aircraft, I don't have a ton of missiles with crazy range, which means my attack opportunities come later in the battle. But despite that, I've got a powerful radar, which helps me calculate trajectories and position myself properly. The situational awareness this plane gives you is insanely good. That means if you scan the battlefield properly, you're rarely gonna get hit by a surprise attack. So all you really need to do is survive and defend yourself until you finally get a chance to go for a frag. My RWR had a little freakout, but I know the missile is far away, so a simple turn to bleed its energy is more than enough to defeat it kinetically. At the same time, I managed to defend myself and give my team some small advantages. Even if they seem insignificant in a 16v16, they're still advantages. The key is to not be useless. On top of that, I got myself into a good position at a safe distance to start my sortie. When there are enemies around, you need to keep at least 10 kilometers of separation because, well, this plane doesn't have HMD. That means every engagement needs to be planned out. You might not have noticed it yet, but it's something you'll start to realize in your upcoming matches. A key factor in getting frags with this plane is knowing how to operate the radar well, using the right distance, switching between scan and acquisition modes whenever necessary, selecting the right targets, and knowing when to dive or not. All of that matters. If you know that 90% of your enemies are around 30 kilometers in front of you, you don't need a 200-kilometer scan ahead of you. That's one of the ways you think to succeed in this. Look at that. I thought there was only one enemy left, but it turns out there was a guy who spammed missiles and went back to the airfield to rearm, and he was ejected. I had planned for just one kill, and now it's too late to turn back. Now where's the last man? Honestly, I can't really understand this guy's logic. He saw me attack from high up, he defended himself well, but then he pushed forward. He didn't look for me up high and just kept advancing without hesitation. Now, I can't kill him anymore. I'm not sure if he just wanted to leave me alive or something.
Need cover! Let's keep the pressure on. Victory is close.
Alright folks, second match, Mysterious Valley. By now, it's no secret how I like to play on this map taking the right side, where there's a good amount of opponents. So, if you still don't have that sharp situational awareness, I wouldn't recommend coming here, especially not in a heavy plane like this one. And there's also the fact that even though I'm in an aggressive position, I'm going to try to get back to my allies as fast as possible, or at least stay in a spot where people can cover me. By now, you're probably wondering why I'm not taking R-27ETs on the Su-34, even though this specific map is actually pretty good for them. Well, for starters, the Su-34's performance, both in speed and turn rate, makes you enjoy the element of surprise way less compared to flying a regular flanker. So, I try to prioritize frontal engagements all the time, since that's where I'll have the most success. You're rarely on someone's 6 with the duck, so I'd recommend bringing 2 or at most 4 ETs in your payload. Well, the bracket for the Su-34 in Air Realistic is pretty nice. You rarely end up in matches full of 14.0 planes, and if you do the bare minimum, like positioning yourself properly, you'll have a good experience. Of course, since it's a simple jet, and way below expectations compared to a dedicated air superiority fighter, you're not going to get insane stats like 5 kills for 1 death, but flying the duck is still pretty satisfying. Staying in the back line doesn't necessarily mean just falling back while your team pushes forward. Sometimes, while positioning yourself, you'll be progressively using the radar to build awareness. Thanks to that, you get a good idea of where the furball is going to form and where you need to go after the BVR phase ends. If you can defend against attacks phenomenally, without losing too much speed or deviating too much from a slightly greedier trajectory, you can keep progressing with your team and rack up some good kills. And this match was the perfect example of that. Now for the conclusion. The Su-34 clearly limits what a pilot can do when it comes to air superiority. After all, the plane's main role is being a bomber, which makes this whole discussion understandable. But just because the jet has its limits doesn't mean it's bad or unviable. I brought some good matches here to try and showcase the best way to have solid games with it, but it won't always go that smoothly. The Su-34 is a plane that doesn't forgive mistakes. And when you get focused, you're probably gonna die. Sometimes it's just better to secure that one kill you have rather than overextend. So my advice is, look for windows to get your frags. And if you realize you're not making it back home, just make sure you do the best you can. Sometimes walking away with 1 or 2 kills in this jet is a bigger win than dropping 8 kills in a Rafale. Trust me. Now, enjoy the rest of the video, where I put most of what I said into practice, along with this final piece of advice. Well, gentlemen, that's it for today. Do you agree or disagree with anything I said? Is there something that works better for you? Let me know. Leave a comment down below. Until next time, Karma out.